Brilliant. Well, hello everybody. And this is rather a big meeting for International. It seems we haven't been together for a long time, but I have been in International with us, just been 2 or 3 of us. So this is a good number. So, and yes, nothing's really happened. There's been a bit of a hiatus for all of us, but it's good to see you all here. So we'll just forget last year ever happened, and we'll pick up where we were, I think. So Tiffany has sent me thank you very much, Tiffany, an awful lot of data that I need to work through, which is past memberships and things like that. Because I've thought for some time, actually, before we go forward, we need to know what membership we've had before, and from where, and so what we look to build on. So I will start plugging away through that bit of data. I mean, for many, many years, it was very complicated because the membership data wasn't with membership secretary, it was with finance, which was all very confusing. But now Tiffany has it and she's passed it on, so I can hopefully pull something out of that. So we can see, our trends in the past, and so we can look to where we're going to go in the future.
Yeah, and I'm happy to help you with that as well, if you because that is a lot of data and it's not in a very good format for finding out that information.
That would be amazing.
Let me know.
Yes, no, I think that'd be really good. So yes, and I think actually it would be, this pandemic in a bizarre kind of way has sort of helped us, because we have become much more au fait with virtual meetings, and so in future we can have hybrid meetings or virtual meetings. It does make it much more accessible, and so hopefully it will make SPNHC more open to be international, rather than having to get on a plane and seeing people once a year. I would hope people still do that, but it allows people to be a bit more inclusive. We've talked about nodes in the past, and this is sort of a way we can actually facilitate that. If there is a want or a need for that, or we could still just continue one main meeting and then people joining in. So I would hope that's a way forward, and the only way I can see the pandemic has helped us. So people just chip in if you have any thoughts, any ideas of where we might go forward. But I think a lot of what we do is really linked to, as we've said in the other meetings, to what other meetings, other committees are talking about, like the strategy, the committee meetings, the membership, all those sorts of things. So it would be good to have a better dialogue with those, and so we can tap into what is going on, rather than doing the same thing over and over again in the little committees when we're all sort of trying to work towards the same thing. So what else have we got? How can we interact with the work in the SPNHC committees to achieve the strategic goals? I think from the last meeting, we've established that when we need to set our strategic goals, and once we have that, then we can work out how this group can fit in and work towards achieving those. But has anyone any thoughts as to what we might do to better fit in with the other committees of SPNHC and where we're going? No, because this was set up as a subgroup, but we've sort of been here for a good while, really, because yeah.
So one thing we're gonna do sometime in July and August is try to get all the committee chairs to meet over Zoom and just chat, particularly about the survey. Everyone wants a survey, and so we'll use that as our main starting point. But I think it'd be just a way to communicate between committee groups, let people know what you're doing, and we'll work out and see what we can accomplish that way, and probably have several of those a year, just to stay better informed, because I'm hearing that in almost every committee group I go into is folks want to survey, and folks want to know what other committees are doing. So I think this would be a good way of doing that.
I think so. I think it'd be really useful because, I mean, this group, there's only been sort of a few of us consistently. I think it's Deb, Tiffany and I pretty much are the only ones that have been here, and people pop in and pop out, but it's, you know, and that's because we're sort of trying to connect with other meetings. So it'd be quite interesting if we can connect and sort of know what people are doing. So that would actually really help, I think.
Coming from a very overseas international bad time date issue,
yeah,
it seems to me that even the council doesn't really meet very often, except you know, we've got a conference, okay, people get together and we do stuff, but we don't actually sort of sit down and go, hey, what is everyone doing right now, and how are we, you know, what do we want to achieve as part of Spinach? And, you know, we only meet at the conference. So I suspect that even just the council meeting, let alone the committees getting together, would be would improve transparency and understanding of what's going on in the Spinach world.
Yeah, I think you're right, because I think it got to a point where the council meetings were going on for so long that they were trying to keep them as succinct as possible, but then by doing that, you weren't really sort of finding out what was going on. And but if you're only meeting once a year, then actually that's quite a difficult thing, because it was going on for hours. So yes, if we can sort of have more meetings, I think, like this throughout the year, I think there will be more progress in every which way.
So this speaks to this, and it doesn't have to be, but in the future, but right now it does seem to be catching on, Slack. And I mean, some of us now are on Teams at our jobs or something because our jobs use Microsoft products. But this notion of being able to stay in touch with people like we would normally do in a physical space, where we can go down and knock on somebody's door, or we pass them in the hallway, or we have, let's have lunch on Thursday. We stay in touch, and working remotely has made us understand that has to happen, but in a different way. And for many of us, we've learned, COVID has prompted us. I would say, what was somebody saying in the last meeting about what COVID has done for us, but what it has also done for us is help move us forward in terms of tool use and adoption of some of these tools that help people, and maybe get a little bit of people's initial trepidation. And the Spinach Slack still could have a lot more people in it. It's just not full yet or anything. And it does have some of the channels are quite active, but it is a place to touch base. And I could leave a note for Shelley, and then she sees it when she gets up and answers my note. And the nice part is anybody can then go in and peek and see what the conversations are in the different groups. So it's easier to keep up with what's happening across the groups. And it doesn't mean that you have a whole new pile of emails in your inbox. And it means you can go and visit it when you have time to visit it. You don't have to. It's not sitting there adding to that number of emails, which makes you very anxious, right? You see that number get bigger and bigger, and it's like, oh my Lord, I'm drowning.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do have a Slack channel for this group, so please join it. And you know, if there are any sort of thoughts or documents, that we can just add them, and like Deb says, you can go and see them when it suits you, really.
So, Shelley, you brought up an accessibility point I hadn't thought about. When you say the institutions won't support the app, can you still use it in the browser? Granted, the software is not nearly as fun in the browser. It's not as good, but because then you can go to any website on your browser. So people could do that at those institutions.
Yeah, you still use it within your browser, but the problem is you have to go to Slack to check in to see if someone's actually contacted you. So
Right, right.
For me, I'm very lucky in that I can afford a personal phone, which I also use as my work phone, and I occasionally get pinged through Slack on my phone.
Yeah.
But at work, I have to actually physically go into Slack, and if I'm bombarded with everything else, I'm not going to go there.
So Genevieve and I are going to talk about that at SPNHC in the meeting. That's our talk. Yeah, you use it on your phone, Jules. Yeah, I was going to say, I think it may be, that's another adoption point of view as institutions, quote, go back, this question about what's going to change and what's going to be different. So people might be able to bring some clarification to that. Barb, I'd wonder, for example, you mentioned finding it useful in the transition to working remotely with your staff. Like, is that going to go away? Are you going to stop using it when everybody can come back into the office again?
I mean, we'll be using Teams because that's what our institution is mandated, but maybe we'll use it the same way.
Yeah, yeah. I find it really nice because of all those other things. It's more like the evolution of the text message in a way where, you know, it's very easy for somebody to blast a group of something. And just because I go in and I check mark it or I put an emoji on the end of it, then somebody knows I've looked at their message, right? They know that I have seen it. So it's this sort of nice way of acknowledging communication occurred, right? Yeah. Anyway, I guess I'm trying to say that what Jules was echoing what he was saying earlier is a way to stay in touch in a more robust way, rather than the occasional email or the one-off meeting. But
I do also really strongly support the idea of quarterly meetings. As I said, I'm in another meeting, I'm president of a different society who switched this year to quarterly online Zoom meetings. And I really think, I mean, I don't have a lot to compare it to because we didn't do it before, but I feel as if everybody stayed much more engaged in the society business. And what I require is for each committee, I mean, this would be different. So we'd have to either not do this or adjust SPNHC practices, but before each meeting, each committee chair sends just a paragraph, an informal paragraph of what they've accomplished. And then we, you know, then we'd have to sort of have a check-in, and then we do business basically on a quarterly basis. But so far it's worked really, really well. So it might be we want to go that way for SPNHC.
Yeah, so I'm now the chair of the Australasian Herbaria, and we do exactly that. We put in a report, and then so everyone just reads the report. We don't have to sit there for 45 minutes while everyone, you know, goes through what they've done in the last quarter. But you get on to business, and it really, really does help, and it keeps that connection. It keeps everything moving a little bit. Yeah.
I like the concept of FaceTime because, you know, sometimes it's hard to write down what you're thinking. And when you're talking to other people, your thoughts evolve as you go along and you get a better concept of where you're going and things like this. When you're running on email, I hate sitting there writing my idea on this long paragraph. Who's going to read it? You know?
yes.
I think, you know, too, we abbreviate what happened in recent years at conferences was that the ABM was butted up against a very enticing social event. And so our meetings have consisted of, you know, trying to limit any new business and people just referring to the written reports. And I'm as guilty of that as anybody. I rushed us through that meeting in Chicago so we could all go get on the boat. I think it was the boat. I don't know.
That was good.
Great fun.
That was good, Barb.
But, you know, it wasn't really, there was no time for any kind of discussion of any issues. So we're not serving the society well by never having an opportunity to really dig into things.
Yeah. Also, you need sounding boards. Sometimes you throw an idea out there and somebody says no, this or add that, or, you know, you need that interaction back and forth. I do anyway. You know, I have a tendency to silo myself. You know, I'm notorious for that.
If you carry on your own, sometimes you just need somebody to say, hey, this is fine, or this is not fine, because sometimes you just sort of go down a little hole and think, I don't know, if you're doing stuff in isolation, you do need people to sort of say, yeah, okay, this is okay, carry on. Yeah. But or not.
I don't have any problems with maybe a quarterly meeting. I don't mind that at all. I don't mind the email. I don't mind text messages. I'll respond to everything. But sometimes I just need that physical, personal interaction with a face and not a computer.
Well, I think what we need, I mean, we're in probably a better position than we have been. We've got these new tools. We have Slack channel, we have virtual meetings, and then hopefully a physical meeting. And the combination of the two, or the three, or whatever it might be, hopefully we can move things a bit quicker than they have been, basically, because it has all very much been down to the physical meeting in the past. So, which for international relations actually was the thing that was holding it back. So now hopefully we're in a better position to move forward.
Yeah.
So the other thing we have on the agenda is to how can we work better with other groups outside SPNHC as well to achieve the SPNHC strategic goals, e.g. Alliance for Biodisco, Tadwick. This, I think, also we were having a discussion in the last meeting, and that again is, you know, being aware, but also not just having these interactions and affiliations. We need to actually coordinate what we're doing with these people and to make sure that we are working together and also helping each other out. You know, we can get things from these groups that we've joined with and vice versa. So if we know that they're around, we need to sort of have a bit more of a coordinated way of moving forward. Deb. Sorry.
So I'm not sure, again, when we end up talking out here, it starts to get very, like, we're talking about these networks and these expansions, and then Barb mentioned a survey in the earlier meeting. So it started me wondering, like, what's the point of the survey? Is it to check in on status of museums? Is it to, what's the data that the people are interested in gathering? Because when I start thinking about the question posed here, I'm reviewing a paper right now that mentions developing a strategic, I thought this was interesting, it was just, I am in the process of reviewing it. So anyway, but a strategic relationship between GBIF and TADWIG for biodiversity informatics training for capacity development. But I don't see them mention SPNHC. And this is something that has come up before, where there does SPNHC want to be in the business of capacity development for staff, for museum careers? And Barb, you've been part of many of these conversations where I've talked with you about this, and so it seems natural to me that SPNHC would want to be in part of that conversation, and will be naturally because of membership crossover in those organizations. Yeah. But how to facilitate that so that it's structured so that SPNHC members have a voice in the development of that kind of a network.
But also to feed it back, one being there for the conversation, but also feeding it back so we can actually move it forward.
Yeah.
So yeah, we need to sort of work out how we might do that better. So sorry, Josh, I'm aware you've had your hand up for a while. Sorry.
Hi. Yeah. I'm Jutta Buschbaum. I'm a member of the Biodiversity Crisis Committee, and I'm here in this committee meeting, and I might need to turn off my camera because my connection is really bad and I'm not sure if it is two-sided, so I better turn it off. So I'm interested in what you're doing because there are kind of two overlaps. So one overlap is that within the Biodiversity Crisis Committee, we have formed a sub-working group for increasing regional diversity. And we have 2 members from South America, and well, we are 2 Germans and 2 members from South America. So I was wondering, that kind of sounded very similar to what you are discussing. And so I'm kind of wanted to bridge this or make this connection. The other one is that I'm just coming from the CETAF board meeting. So I have been involved over the last months very closely with Dirk Neumann, who is also a SPNHC member, but also a CETAF member in in interactions with the CBD, the Convention on Biological Diversity. And from that developed that Paul asked me if I would be, if one of us would want to be a representative to the CETAF board meeting. So I went, and I thought that was really exciting, this meeting. That's why I came a little bit late, because there's a lot of overlap and similar ideas, initiatives, and there would be a lot of foundation for working together. There's a memorandum of understanding, so there is already a basis. And yeah, so these are the kind of 2 reasons why I'm here, and I'm looking forward to what is developing. Thanks.
Brilliant. Great, and welcome. Yes, this is something that we've touched on a couple of times in a couple of meetings now, that there are some affiliations such as CETAF, there's somebody in our last meeting, but yes, we do need to make sure that these conversations that could be really very fruitful are sort of consolidated somehow, but I'm not quite sure how we do that. So I think that's something that we will continue, and I will speak with Jules, because that's something that came up in the last meeting as well. So how that one moves forward, because that is something that is recognised, that there are lots of amazing stuff going on there, but that we can help with, and they can help us, but we don't quite know. We are not very well coordinated to move it forward.
I do know, and some of you have heard me give this example before, I'm going to give it again because it's a good one, and then we can riff on it. But this notion of more frequent meetings, I think, is the major point here, of at least allow us to talk. They don't have to be pressured into, we have to make decisions at this meeting, and it has to, but you have to get together and talk about, well, what are you doing and what are you doing, so that you can look for those spaces where there's natural sort of ways in which to move forward together on things. I'm reading what Shelley put in the chat. Inclusivity, yeah. So Shelley mentioned earlier that Tadwig holds meetings twice. We hold our executive meetings separated by, we have an East meeting and a West meeting, so that people in the executive can figure out which time comes for them. So we always hold that meeting twice, once a month. And that participates or it facilitates this more inclusivity. But what I was going to say about ESIP is this Earth Science Information Partners is, imagine that you are a member in the leadership of the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration. It's huge, right? Imagine you are leadership of USGS. I realize this is a US example of the Geological Survey. Imagine you are leadership of groups, working groups and things at NASA. And now imagine you want to put satellites in the sky, or you want to collect atmospheric information, but you also want other people to be able to use that information. So what format does it need to be in? How are people going to access it? Is the API open? Is it going to work 20 years from now? Where are your software products so I can get it? So they actually put money from their individual budgets into the same bucket. They can do that easily because it's all in the same federal bucket. So that's simple for them. To do just what we're talking about here. They have been doing this for 20 years. They have been collaborating across those 3 organizations strategically for 20 years. So they're not just talking about quarterly meetings. They have put their sights on, we are 3 key organizations that need a voice together in order to align what we do, to make sure others can use what we do and put it into their short and long-term planning. But in order to do that, they have to talk with each other on a regular basis. But those 3 organizations have chosen each other, right, for obvious reasons. So I
Yeah.
guess I'm saying that maybe there's some choosing there to do, maybe in the survey, there's some strategic thinking about if we're going to do this, you know, what's the short-term goals, what are the long-term ideas. And the first one coming up that I mentioned here, the Alliance for Bio is getting ready to do another consult. I know some of you may know what I'm talking about and others do not, but essentially the short version is there are going to be like 6 topics. One of these topics is partnerships to collaborate more effectively.
Yeah.
So in a couple of months, it's in late June, I think at this point, when this comes out, it would be great to get a lot of Spinach members, and broadly speaking, you each talk to your networks of groups who you know and get them to weigh in on this essential topic. It's essentially what we're talking about here is in that particular consult. So it'll be an online consultation where we'll talk like this about the need. And then there will be a time for you to go into the website and type in, you know, what your ideas and your thoughts are that anybody can contribute to.
Very good. I'm conscious of time, and so we'll move on, but we have Mariana, you have your hand up. Would you like to say something?
Hi. I just wanted to raise something because I think the international relations are, you know, they're fantastic to be able to improve the way that we work. However, I do not see ways in which we are reaching out to places we've never reached out to. I don't see us going and having conversations with people. For example, last year we had a joint virtual meeting with NatHist, with ICOM NatHist. That relationship, I don't know, how did it continue this year? Did we do anything else with them? How did we foster that relationship, you know, moving forward? They have a lot of membership from a lot of countries all around the world. And I don't think that we have actually gone and said, hi, we're interested in collaborating more because you have this huge network and we would love to be able to expand as well. A lot of places in the world that are not US centric or European centric do look at ICOM as their way to go. ICOM is their lead. And so I think we should be partnering more with the ICOMs all around the world. Or
yeah, I think you're right. We did the one in New Zealand as well, and there was a lot of interest after that, but I don't think we've really harnessed that enthusiasm. So we do need to look at a way how we might do that in future, be more coordinated. But yeah, but also I think what's come out of this last couple of meetings I've been to is, you know, the survey and the strategy. So with your international heads on, I'll be really interested if you could send me, just because we're running out of time, so your thoughts on how some things that we could be thinking or things that we could do better to reach out to those people that we've not been to before, or and how to keep in touch with the membership that we do gain from a meeting or something like that. So if we have, say, we're going to put this survey out for the whole thing, what would the, say, 1 or 2 questions you would have from an international point of view? What questions would you ask in that survey? And if you have any ideas on how we also might harness these relationships and continue them to make them more fruitful, I'd be really interested. So, you know, there is the Slack channel, and have my email address. So do please let me know your thoughts, and then I will try and put something together. And if everyone's happy, I'd quite like to have, I'm not suggesting sort of monthly meetings or anything, but it would be quite useful to have more meetings. So perhaps quarterly or even biannually, I think would be helpful. So at least we get a bit more momentum than we have had in the past few years. So does anyone get any particular issues or burning desire to have a meeting every quarter or every 6 months?
Well, I'm all for more frequent meetings. Absolutely. Yeah. And, you know, Jules said something in the chat about the free conference places that membership had given to some of the, well, all the people who were providing virtual tours. And then we also had free memberships for the travel grant recipients. Now, you know, the problem that I find with membership is knowing who to reach out to. You know, it's all very well, you know, I'm just sitting in Iowa and yeah, I could go online and look up some museums or something in some other places, but I really rely on, you know, I will go overboard trying to help people who have difficulty joining from other countries because PayPal doesn't work or they don't have access to PayPal and stuff like that. But, you know, I rely on, like Mariana really helped get some connections going there with the collections in Uruguay, and you know, really need people in with connections in other countries to, yeah, to say you need to get in touch with these people. This is a good group to connect with, that type of thing. Yeah. So Shelley, yeah.
Deb's going to love me, but I do really like the Tadwig model, where they have regional representatives on the council, and that drives, you know, bringing together communities. So it might be something we want to look at for changing the council rules and membership, whatever that's called. Sorry, it's very late at night.
Okay. I'm really aware we have 1 minute before the next meeting starts. So I just want to say thank you for everybody for coming and joining the discussion. And so yes, please let me know your thoughts and how we go forward, and I will be in contact soon to invite you to another meeting.
Yeah.
So,
see you on Slack. We don't have to wait for meetings. I'd love to talk with some of you, answer your questions. If you don't know how to get on Slack, send Suzanne and I an email, and we'll explain how to do it. Or we'll explain where to go find what you need to do that. And I think there are other points being raised in the chat. Mariana, Jules, we see you. And that's something we need to talk with, and that's a long-range planning topic as well, right? How to facilitate membership of people who are going to struggle, or getting them on board and working with their organization to support participation in SPNHC, if they can. Yes.
brilliant, thank you. So I'm going to say goodbye to you, and let us know if you have any thoughts on Slack.